Alright, hey guys, my name is Song. I'm going to be teaching you how to draw hands today. Now, I know a lot of artists struggle to draw hands, so I'm just going to kind of show you guys some of the tips and tricks that I use to personally draw hands. And really, they're not as bad as everyone makes them out to be, but I've always been pretty good at drawing hands, so maybe I'm just a little different in that regard. But, so let's just kind of get started with the basic hand. So, now, generally speaking, when I draw hands, I laid out the hands by using kind of like this diamond shape right here. It's kind of a pentagon. So the reason I do this is because the index finger tends to be the most prominent finger that most people pay attention to, and when you use it in poses, it's going to be the finger that kind of stands out compared to the rest of the other hand. So this is kind of the shape that I take whenever I start, and of course we do also have the thumb over here to the side. Now, of course, with the hands, we got four fingers, so we'll just quickly lay out the four fingers. So one, two, and of course, if you're drawing a guy, the ring finger will actually be longer than the index finger. But if you're drawing a woman, these will generally be the same. And then, of course, our pinky. And you'll notice that I did go over a little bit, but that's fine. And then we have our thumb. Now, the thumb is actually a little bit towards the side. It's not ever really ever straight on. Um, but this is generally how I lay out the hand. Now, of course, this is a front view. This is a back view. So let's kind of go through some of the different parts. So of course we have our knuckles right here, and we have four knuckles. And depending on the hand type, you're going to actually be able to see the connecting bone, the bone that connects to the knuckle itself. And it is dependent on whether or not the hand you're drawing has a little bit of meat to it, or if it doesn't. And we also have the different extra skin that allows our finger to bend. So you can go and segment each individual finger by 1/3. Generally speaking, the little extra flap, or not extra flap, but extra skin will be in segments of 1/3 from the top. So if we just quickly go through, and of course the thumb just has one. Now we can go and kind of just add in the wrinkles, indicating that, of course, this is where the bends are. Now I'll redraw the pinky a little bit. There we go. All right. Now, one of the unique parts about the hand is actually that the fingers will appear a little bit longer from the back than they do the front. That's because there's this little webbing in between each finger that you can see if you actually hold your fingers apart pretty widely. And if you'll notice, if you close your hand and look at them from the front, you'll notice that the fingers end a little bit shorter than what they do on the back. That's because, of course, that webbing is there, and it just creates this illusion that the fingers are longer than they actually are. All right, and then we have, of course, our fingernails. Now, some people don't draw the fingernails. If you're practicing drawing hands, I do highly recommend that you draw in the fingernails. And the reason I recommend that is just because when we start to draw the hand in perspective, the fingernails really help with making sure that your fingers are oriented in the right way. It's just a good way to be able to tell how that looks. So now let's just kind of refine the shapes right here. So we'll add in a little bit of a wave. Now, for this finger, you'll notice that it is going to show a little bit of front. So we'll do that. Add in the little fingies. And of course the thumb. And you can see right here, because I add in that thumbnail, I can kind of tell how that thumb is supposed to be laid out. And there we go. So now, of course, it's going to connect to an arm. Now, generally speaking, thank you, Xbox. I don't care. Get out of here. But generally speaking, your wrist will connect with your arm roughly around the index level right here. So your hand and your arm will connect about right there. And of course, the bone that is very prominent. Some people, you can see it very clearly. For me, I actually don't see it very much, but it's always going to be on the pinky side of the arm. So about right here. So that's a hand from the back view. Let's do a front view, because front is really where we're going to be able to see the palm. Now, the palm, when you're drawing your hand flat, is not going to have a lot of distinct things about it. However, when we start to draw it, gripping things and moving around, that's when we really need to understand how the palm works and why it does the things that it does. So, same thing we did over here. I'm going to draw in my little pentagon shape. And then I'm going to add in the extra triangle over here for the thumb. And then I'm going to draw in my index finger, my ring finger, or my middle finger, then the ring finger. And I'm going to make it a little bit longer, because I am drawing a guy's hand. It's my hand. Or roughly around what my hand is. And my pinky. So now, same thing before we're going to do over here. We're going to attach it to, of course, an arm. And we need to add in the thumb. So same deal as before, the thumb. It is never really straight on like the other fingers will be. It will always have a slight twist to it. So let's talk about the palm. So the palm is pretty straightforward. I say that, but it will get a little bit complicated once we start to make it move. But the big segments that we really want to focus on is the major thumb muscle right here, and then the muscle that connects the 3 fingers over here. So the reason, again, I'm drawing this in, and you really want to focus on this, is because, again, this will start to move when you have the hand start to grip things. So it's actually one of the things that helps you grip. So the combination of these two muscles moving around in perspective is really where a lot of artists kind of get tripped up on how to draw hands. So, and then of course, same thing we did before. We're going to segment the fingers by drawing the lines, but of course this time, no thumbnail and no wrinkle. It's just going to be lines. And then one over here. Still thumbnail for the thumb, because like I said, you can see that the thumb is twisted. So here are the hands, drawn flat on. Like I said, this is really where you want to start off with. Once you get to here, you can start to try to draw the advanced parts of the finger, which I'm going to get into. Can be a little bit complicated, and I want to talk about some of the reasons on why a lot of artists, when they first start off drawing hands, they find it really weird and kind of confusing. So the main reason why the hand is kind of confusing, especially when you try to draw it off axis, so at a different angle, or of course with the hand, with the fingers open or closed, is because the hand is both rigid in some areas and then pliable or soft-bodied in others. So let's just talk about what I mean by this. So when we draw a finger, right, we have a finger coming out right here, and then we're going to draw in the thumb or the fingernail, and then we're going to draw in the finger. So it's just like a little sausage, right? So I think everyone can get to this point. Pretty straightforward. But now what happens when we want to bend it? Well, when we bend it, you'll actually note that the length of the finger from here to here, right, will change slightly, but it will mostly be the same. It's going to be the distance between here to here that will compress. So if we're going to draw this finger bent, right, these are our 3 bend points right here. If we're going to bend that finger, right, you'll notice that the length of that outside perimeter stays the same. But the inside, right, what happens in the inside is that the muscle as well as the fat in the fingers will fold. So you'll end up with a situation looking like this. Now, depending on the hand itself, right, you'll actually see that you can take a look at your own hand. But for me, right, when my fingers fold and they're not fully folded, you'll notice that part of it, there's going to be this small part right here that doesn't bend as much. Before if you fully fold your finger in, you'll get a different shape. But you can see this outside perimeter is the one that will not change. It's the inside perimeter that once you start drawing that folded in, it will change. So, if we draw that completely folded in, like so, you'll note that it's going to look something like this. Now, another thing that's pretty unique, right, that you want to focus on is the interaction with the finger and, of course, the palm. So when your finger folds, you'll note this part of your palm. I don't know if it's actually the palm or anything like that. I'm just calling it a palm for now. I don't know the actual term. Will bend in as well. So when you fully fold in your finger like this, so we see the knuckle right over here, your finger will kind of bend together with this part of the palm, the upper part. And then, of course, you have the rest of the palm down here. So this is like the pinky, right? You'll notice that this part of the hand will fold in with it. So you'll get like this kind of X shape. Like so. So that's just individual fingers. So let's talk about, how the whole hand operates when you're, making a fist or something like that. So when you draw a fist, right, we're going to use the same bases as before. Draw that pentagram. Or, not pentagon. Draw the pentagon, right? So we have this right here. And of course, since this is a fist, the thumb will fold in. So we're going to draw the triangle, but we're going to draw the triangle folded in right here. And then instead of having the fingers fold out or coming out like that, we're going to fold them in. Now, since we're drawing it straight on like this, we'll actually see the top of the finger fold right here, and then it's going to bend in, and then once it gets to about right here, it will bend back into the hand. So we'll just do that for the other fingers as well, but we're going to keep that size rule in mind. It's not as prominent when your hand is folded into a fist, but it is still something that you want to keep track of. And so now we're going to try to draw on that thumb. But now, do note, since your hand is balled up into a fist, that thumb muscle, instead of relaxing like we had before here, now what it's going to do is it's going to fold in, or it's going to bulge out a little bit more. And your thumb is going to be placed right here. So now your thumb, generally it's going to fold out to about around the middle to index ring finger length. And we'll draw that thumbnail right there. And then we're going to add in the extra folds of skin that will show up because the thumb is folded in like so. And same thing with connecting to your wrist. It will still connect to around the index level. Now, you'll note right here as well, depending on how hard you're gripping and how hard you're gripping your hand, these two fingers might come in a little bit more. So instead of being right here, it might be like right here. It really just depends. All right. Okay. And then, of course, because this is a little bit off perspective, or not off perspective, but it's not directly on, right? You can see the sides of the hands right here. And you'll note that the thumb will fold in some of the skin on the side. So when you're gripping your hand into a fist, right, we'll have the finger. So the index finger is right here. Draw the thumb or the fingernail, right? And the thumb, because there's a flap of skin connected between the thumb bone as well as the index bone. You'll see that it'll kind of cover up the index finger like so, and then connect over to your thumb. And then your thumb, it's going to be generally a little bit flatter towards that. And then we're going to draw the thumbnail. Just again, we want to make sure everything is nicely in perspective. There we go. And of course, we're going to connect our arms like so. Okay, so this is kind of the advanced portion. Again, remember with your fingers, it's the outside point that will not change its length. It is the inside part of your finger that will change its length right here. Now, let's talk about some of the more, I guess, dynamic poses for the hands. So we have some where the hands might be sticking out, but they're bending in a little bit. Kind of like a claw grip kind of deal. So for those more dynamic and more perspective poses, I use that same pentagon. I don't know. I keep saying gram, but pentagon shape. But I try to draw it in perspective on how I want it to be. And I use that same triangle, but this time I might draw that again in perspective to what I want. So say I'm going to have the hand like stick out, like maybe curving out a bit. So let's first draw the thumb. So again, since this is in perspective, we're going to draw the thumb like so. All right. And then we're going to have the index finger reaching out. Now, when I draw in perspective like this, what I tend to do is instead of working from the base out, I actually like to work from the tip back to the base. So I'm going to draw the fingertip first. So that's the fingertip. And we'll draw in the fingernail. Like I said, try to draw in the fingernail when you're practicing. It really does help you kind of stay consistent with your perspective. All right, so now I wanted to draw a bit back into the base, so I'm going to draw in the second segment, kind of getting into it like this. There we go. And then I'm going to draw in the middle finger, so we're going to kind of do the same thing where we're going to draw out the tip. There we go. Draw the second segment, and then that second segment will cover up the third. Now, this is why I draw the pentagon. Got it correct this time. Is because there's a natural taper that we like to stylize a lot. So it's not that what's the word? It's not that not prolific, but basically you don't see it in real life that often. But when you're drawing stylized poses, this is something that you do end up seeing a lot more. So let me draw in the other fingers. So fingertip, fingernail, wrinkle, second connection. And then I could draw, for this, I might actually draw the finger or the pinky bending in a little bit more than the others, just because it gives it more of a natural feeling to it. Because, again, it's kind of weird that your hands would all be like in the same finger length as well as same bend pose. So we'll draw in the finger, the pinky. go. And then I'm going to draw in the connecting palm muscle that connects the middle index and pinky finger, like so. And then I'm going to connect it back into the base of the hand. And so there we go. And maybe this needs to be, so this is where we can start to kind of adjust. Maybe this thumb seems like it might be a little bit too out. I might need to bring it in, so let's quickly redraw that. There we go. And you can do something like that. So it's not perfect, but it's definitely a starting point. But hopefully you have a better understanding of how hands work out. Really, I think when it comes to hands, the biggest problem is that people think of the hand as a very rigid structure, but it's not. It's very flexible. It's very malleable. It likes to do really weird things. Of course, the best way to get to draw hands more, or the best way to draw hands better, is to draw it more and more. Look at references, all that great stuff. However, if you're trying to draw from your memory or your imagination, just keep this in mind. It will help with drawing hands, and hopefully you can get really good at drawing it, and you don't hate drawing hands anymore. Because for me, I love drawing hands. So, but thank you guys for watching. If you guys have any more things that you want to learn how to draw, do let me know. That being said, hope you guys have a wonderful day.